Hi, guys. Welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm really glad to see you. It's been a very busy day, and I really just want to collapse. It's been a very busy day. I was spending my entire 2 days, yesterday and today, doing a webinar for PESI, and you guys probably don't know who they are, but they're um, just the world's leading organization for therapists in terms of continuing education. And I literally just ended about an hour and a half ago or 2 hours ago, and I was dozing off, and then I thought, oh my god, the people that I love are waiting on me on YouTube. And so then I had to get myself together. So here we are. Let's talk about family and the lies that society has kind of kept us victim to. Um, and hopefully you can hear me. Let me know if you can. I'm working with a new microphone tonight, so hopefully sound is better and we're not going to have any issues. And I don't have any social media issues on this side. Instagram is cooperating, so I'm just going to jump in, okay? So family being one of the most important topics to man, right? Family is often a very important conversation for a lot of us. Unfortunately, I hate to say this, but family truly is a complicated sociocultural concept, meaning society impacts what family really means, and so does our culture. And we come from a culture as humans, as people of the human race. We have this idea that and at least we have been served this idea. I should put it this way. We have been served the idea that family is at the top of everything else in life, that family is everything. And there's a radio host that comes on my local news station, and he's such an interesting individual. I'll put it that way. And I've psychoanalyzed him every time he comes on the air because he just has so many hangups. But one thing that really hangs him up, and it's so very annoying to me, and I feel sorry for people who are listening to him, he'll get on the radio and he will talk about all the things he's done in our community. And then he will say, I had this long weekend with my family, and family is everything. If you don't have family, you don't have anything. If you don't have family, you are missing out on one of the most important things in life. And he leaves it at that. And then he goes on to talking about politics or something else. And he's been saying that for the past 15 years. I've been listening to him off and on. And it's so very frustrating to me because I know the truth of that. Being a child and family therapist, working with adults, working with kids and teens, I know, and this was a topic with PESI today, that family is a complicated entity. There is trauma there, there's pain there. There's social beliefs, cultural beliefs, religion. I mean, we can just go down a whole list. And it makes life difficult to go through life with that idea that family is everything. And that you don't have that kind of a relationship or communication with your own family. Now, that's not to say that you should be embittered or jealous or envious of people who do have that. But what I am saying is, our world needs to wake up, right? Because we've been fed this idea that family is everything, no matter what. Now, is family everything when they are loving, caring, compassionate, engaged with you? Mutual respect is there, boundaries are there. 100%. I think it's a lovely thing to have if you have that. You're blessed if you do. But there are some people that just strictly do not have that. And because of that, they have suffered. And for those of you who are with me tonight, I'm sure that you have suffered in some capacity with your family. And so it's really difficult to sit there and listen to somebody brag about their family and then say, if you don't have family, you don't have nothing. And I always tell my clients that is not the truth. If your entire family died today, would your life be over? Is the question that I ask my clients all the time. And they sit there for a minute and they ponder it. And then they say, no, I guess it wouldn't. Then my next question to them would be, do you feel like your life would hold the same purpose and meaning if you didn't have your family? Some clients say yes. Some clients say no. For me, it should be a yes. Because your life still matters. If we talk about the concept of existentialism, which is really grappling with meaning and purpose in life, relationships, death and dying, grief and loss, grief and loss, and the psychology of purpose and meaning, your life still has meaning, even if you have to go no contact with your family, if you have to walk away from your family, if you have to save your sanity and slam the door on your family, your life still has meaning. Now, if you have a lovely family that has minimal trauma, or that has trauma, but you have worked through it and your family loves each other through that, then that's a beautiful thing. That's also a blessing. But what about those people who don't have that? What about the ones that, like most of you, have to go no contact, or you have to put up a barrier or a boundary? What about those situations where your family is monitoring your every move? They're critiquing everything that you do. They're making you feel less than. They're targeting your self-esteem and your confidence. What do you do with a family like that? Sometimes you do have to walk away. And so that's why I often say to families, family is everything if they love you. Family is not everything if they continue to hurt you, if they make you feel low, if they make you feel unloved, if they make you feel like you don't matter, like your thoughts, your mind, your emotions, your soul doesn't matter, then you need to readjust your view of family is everything. So again, I often tell my clients, family isn't everything if they continue to hurt you over and over again. There's a couple of terms that I want to mention before I go to the chat box and engage some of you. There's a couple of things that I want you to pay attention to in this live chat as we go along. So I'm going to be dropping some new terms tonight just so that you can grab that and have something new in your back pocket. But let me just mention a couple things before I go to the chat box, that we live in a cultural system. There is actually philosophical approaches to therapy that challenges our view of family. Existentialism challenges our view of family. Philosophy challenges our view of family. There's a therapeutic mindset known as person-centered therapy, meaning that I am focusing this treatment around you and your needs. That theory sometimes challenges our view of family. And those three fields are asking the question, how do we help you as the individual feel confident, self-assured, healthy, stable, balanced, despite the situation that you are currently in? And for a lot of you, you're in a situation where you can't get along with your family. You're in a situation where maybe getting along with your family is never going to happen because the dynamics are too complicated, Or maybe you're in a situation where you want to get along with your family and you want to love them, but every time you attempt to, they bite you. Or every time you attempt to reach for them, they slap your hand, right? So what do you do in that situation? You have to walk away. And sometimes walking away is family estrangement, going no contact, putting up boundaries, no longer tolerating the pain and the hurt, and slamming the door. And then you have to find new purpose and move forward. But there's a cultural system that we exist in, and it tells us that our family relationships are everything. And that has to change. There's also what we call interparental relationship challenges. Basically, what that means is if you have a relationship with your parent that's unstable, if you have a parent that's unstable, if you have an emotionally detached or unavailable parent, that interparental relationship being unstable like that, that relationship between you and your parent being unstable contributes to the trauma, contributes to the unstable family dynamic, and also contributes to you saying, you know what, I'm going to have to go no contact because this isn't healthy. This isn't safe. This isn't balanced. This isn't what I want for my life. And once you realize that this is not what you want for your life, that interparental chaos to the relationship or that sibling dynamic that's unhealthy, then that's when you know I need to change my course. I need to change my path. I need to go a different way. And so that's a good thing. I don't see that as a negative thing. There's also hidden sociocultural pressures that makes it hard to walk away from your family, and that really drives that family as everything theory. And it drives it into the ground. There's a hidden sociocultural pressure. And what that means is it is political sometimes, it is classism sometimes, it is cultural sometimes, that family is everything. And if you walk away from your family, you're seen as an outcast. You're seen as the black sheep. You're seen as the rebellious. You're seen as the insignificant person in the family. You're seen as the bad boy or the bad girl or the risky person or the one that doesn't have rules and regulations. And all of that is incorrect. Sometimes, as a lot of you know, sometimes having a family that is toxic and dysfunctional, the healthy thing to do sometimes is to walk away. I'm not preaching walk away. I really don't want to encourage that. But if that is the only recourse, that's what you have to do. And that does not make you, number one, a bad person. It doesn't make you a black sheep. It doesn't make you the bad person, the bad kid, the bad girl, the bad boy in the family. It doesn't make you insignificant, and it doesn't make you less than. As a matter of fact, somebody on the outside may get into the middle of your family and say, oh my God, I can see exactly why you walked away. And they would probably applaud you. That is how interesting this dynamic can become. Most people who do not understand toxic and dysfunctional family dynamics, and they don't understand trauma, what they do is they judge from the outside looking in, and they don't get it. They don't realize, they don't realize that if you were existing within my family, you would totally do the same thing I'm doing. And maybe you wouldn't, maybe you don't have the courage to, right? Maybe those other people don't have the courage to walk away, or they are financially dependent, or, something like that. But for those who take the opportunity to walk away because the pain is too intense, I think you're wise. I think you're smart. I don't think anything is wrong with you. Now, lastly, before I go to the chat box, collectivism is another social concept that gets in the way of people feeling okay for getting away from toxicity. Collectivism is really the study of how we function in groups. And the collectivist or the collectivism mentality says that you have to exist within a group. You can't exist outside of the group. You cannot be independent. That everything we do as human beings is a part of it's a part of a group. I'll put it that way. It's always in a group of some kind. You cannot exist outside of being a part of a group. And I think collectivism is a very detrimental concept, because it's really keeping you connected to always being a part of other people. There's no independent thought. There's no independent emotions. You just have to continue to be in the midst of other people. It really is, again, the study of how we function in groups. And it can really make you feel like if you walk away from the group, you're dysfunctional. That's not the case. But a lot of people take that collectivism mindset and they say, oh my God, you're doing what again? years ago, when I was the age of, I'm going to go back to childhood for a second, then I'm going to go to the chat box and engage you. But when I was around 8 years old, I was one of those little girls who was very motivated. You know, my mom tells me this funny story. She's like, it was 6 a.m. It could have been 5:30 a.m. She says, and everybody is sleeping, snoring in the house, and here you come. She says, and I opened my one eye and saw you standing in front of my bed at 7 years old. She says, and you were all dressed and ready to go to school at 6 a.m. And she says, and we laugh about it to this day. And she says, and you were so motivated and ready to go to school. Your clothes were matching, but you were ready to go. Your ponytail was hanging off this way. Your hair was over there, but you were ready to go. If I ever find that picture, I'm going to show it to you. And so we laugh about it all the time. Well, okay, I went to school and I was motivated and ready to learn. However, there was a part of me that was very independent. And my mom knew that I wasn't going to survive in an academic environment where I have to sit and be a part of a structured environment where I have to do what all the other kids do. Even though I was reading on a college level by 10 years old, my mom didn't want me to still be in a classroom reading on my grade level. She wanted me to go ahead and just be free and learn and grow. And so she took me out of that school district and she homeschooled me. She homeschooled my younger brother as well. And she homeschooled me until I was 18 years old. And then I went to college and grad school, and here I am. But my mom could not stand the collectivism mindset. That's my point. And neither could I, because what the collectivism mindset again says is that you have to go the same way that everybody in the world is going, even if that means you're going to be held back from a lot of things you could have if you just were independent. You need to go along with the herd of sheep, you know, because that's the way you're supposed to do it in society. And that is incorrect. That is incorrect. I do not believe in that. I believe that we need to take the steps we need to take to be healthy, functioning human beings. And if that means going against the grains of a society that relies on popularity, that relies on collectivism, that relies on lies, so be it. Okay, let me go to the chat box. See what you guys are saying. I'm so glad to see you. I truly missed you guys. Pessy was amazing. Love, love, love Pessy. And I'm so glad that they invited me to speak. However, I must say, I really did miss my YouTube family. So I'm glad to see you. Starburst. Thank God it's Friday. Yes. And thank you for that. That's so kind. Aren't you glad it's Friday? I can't wait to go just put on my bunny slippers and my PJs. The Retro Woman 80. I hope you have some bunny slippers too. The Retro Woman 80. Hello and welcome. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. So good to see you back, because I know you do a lot of work. The Retro Woman 80. You're always working when I do these live chats. So welcome. Kim, nice to see you. So glad to see you as well. Tammy, nicely. Thank you so much for all those wonderful hearts. Happy Friday to you. Hope that you are doing well. KK, hello. I don't remember seeing you. KK less than 3. I think that's what it says. Welcome. So glad to have you. GB Joe, hello. So glad you're back, my friend. Bryn Parr, glad to have you back on Friday, by the way. Bryn Parr, show me the money. Oh my God. I love that. Welcome, welcome. Glad to see you. Fifi LaFleur, hello and welcome. Glad to see you. Tammy nicely says, I've gone no contact with my toxic family and definitely better for it. And if you don't understand, you're out of here. Yeah, so true. So true. My stepdad, who is my late stepdad. He died so many years ago, but I really did love my stepdad. I thought he was the coolest guy on earth to be a stepdad. But one time, he and my mom were going somewhere and I was walking with them. You know, I had to be about 10 or 11. And somebody said to my stepdad, hey, how's your family doing? And guess what my stepdad said? It was so cold, but he just didn't like his family. They were too much. I'll put it that way. And so his friend said, hey, how's the family going? He said, oh, they all died. And I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't believe he said it. He's like, oh, they all died. He didn't want to talk about them. He didn't want to say my cousin just got married and is now trying to get an annulment. He didn't want to go into it. So guess what he said? They all died. And I thought, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. So, but that's how much he didn't like his family. His family was just way too much. Good to hear that, GB Joe. Yeah, I was really running late. I was trying though. Cherry's Jubilee, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. Glad to see you. Shay Wallace, hello and welcome back. Hope you're doing well. Guys, I am looking for comments. Oh, I love you guys too. Thank you, Nancy. Absolutely. I totally miss you guys today. Sun and Sunflowers, hello and welcome. Glad to have you. Sylvia Love Jones, glad to have you as well. Hello. Fairy Girl, I can't leave you out. Hello, hello. Glad to have you. Juby Joe, I didn't know you became a member. I totally missed that. Thank you so much for becoming a member. As you will see, guys, you will see like these little green icons. That means that you are a new member, but then your membership changes to a different icon after a month. And then it continues to change over time. So it's kind of cool. I like that. Cherry's Jubilee brings up a very important point here. She says betrayal trauma is hard. Yes, it is. And if you've been betrayed by your family over and over and over again, it's a possibility that walking away from your family is the thing that you need to do, right? Because if they've betrayed you multiple times in the past, what is it to them to betray you again in the future? So you may have to consider walking away might be the best way to cope. That might be the best way to cope and deal with things because, you know, who wants to continue to be hurt over and over again by people who are supposed to have your back at all times and be loving and true and honest? Angel Warrior, so glad to have you. Welcome back. Glad to see you. Nancy R says family is complicated. Yes. Yes, it is. That's been a theme for me for the past 2 days in my trainings. Shay Wallace says, mine were my first bullies. Wow. That's not good. That's a lot. Family members who become bullies are family members that you do have to put up boundaries with. And as soon as you see the bullying behavior, the ostracism, the talking behind your back, the making you feel afraid, the intimidation tactics, you know, making you feel overwhelmed and suffocated and choked and just crammed in your life. That's where you have to draw the line and say, no, this is not going to continue to happen to me. I'm going to push you over there and I'm going to go over here and try to have a more peaceful, happier, balanced life without you. Sometimes that's the way that it has to be. Orlando, hello and welcome. Glad to see you back in tonight's live chat. Grow, so glad to see you. It's been a little while, right? Grow says, I don't know what is worse, having a good family and losing them or never having a family at all and never knowing it. Yeah, I don't know either, Grow. Yeah, that's a good one. My mom used to say that, but she used to say it differently. She would say, I can't tell if it's better to have loved and lost, or is it better to have never loved and don't know what it is to lose someone? I don't know. I used to look at my mom and think, it's depressing either way, if you ask me. When it comes to toxic family, though, I honestly think it's easier to just do without it. You know, it's better to just be without the toxic family. Goodbye. Sometimes, you know. But I see what you're getting at, Grow. I have felt the same way in the past about different situations in life. Yeah, I totally get that. Lexi R, hello and welcome. Glad to see you in tonight's live chat. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome. Lexi R says, I was abused by an uncle at the age of 11, told everyone in the family, none believed me. They pretended it never happened, left home at 15 and never looked back. Don't want that family as family. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't either. I'm sorry that happened to you. Nobody wants to deal with that kind of a pain, that kind of pain that stays with you, right? When you tell your family something, you hope that they believe you. And if they don't believe you, they still love you through it until it's clear to them what's going on. But to make you feel alone, to turn their back on you is a whole different thing. Dragon Man Sasson, hello. Glad to see you back, my friend. Free Live, glad to see you back. Doing well. A little tired today, but I'm doing well. Thank you. I hope you're doing okay. Ronald Zion, hello. Always glad to see you. Hope you're doing well this Friday. Cam says, it took a long time for me to realize that family doesn't just get a pass. Still need to remind myself of that at times. Yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes we do take the lower road, right? We think, you know what? I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to bring this up. I'm not going to, because we're family. Someone actually put a comment. I don't think I have my cell phone down here with me. No. Somebody, I might screenshot it and put it in the community center. We'll see. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't want to make a spectacle. But somebody sent me a message in the chat and said, you really know something's wrong when somebody tells you that walking away from your family is a good thing. They said family is family above anything. And I read that comment and almost hit the delete button. And I thought, never mind. I'm going to use this as a teaching moment on my platform here on the channel, but I don't have my phone, so I'll show it to you guys another time. But I looked at that comment and I'm thinking, did you really just say that? That family is everything above everything else, and that nobody should tell you to walk away from a family even when they're unhealthy? The last line of that comment that they left was, family is everything no matter what. That is not true, and I don't believe that. I think that that's a very ignorant and unlearned mindset to think that you should accept family because they are family. I disagree with that. So you're right, Cam. Sometimes you still have to remind yourself, you're not going to run all over me just because we're family. Wait a minute. Let me put a boundary up here. You don't have a right to know that. I don't want to share that with you right now. And you have the right to feel that way. Jessica J, hello and welcome back. Glad to have you. Glad you're listening. I hope you're doing okay. Okay, excuse me, guys. I'm just going through before we go back into the content. Once we go into the content, I want to give you some ideas of what's going on with this train of mind in society. I also want to give you some research on why psychology thinks that this idea that family is everything is so believable. And then I want to give you some tips on how to move forward in this mindset that family isn't everything when they hurt you. So we're going to get to that. I forgot to give you that introduction at the beginning. Angel Warrior says, there is no real and authentic leadership in my family. Bullies and narcs. None thinks logical. Wow. Wow. That's horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that, Angel Warrior. My mom did this a long time ago. When she realized that extended family was very unhealthy for her, she really did carve out her own life. And that's where she decided to, kind of in her life, push my extended family a little bit over there and then raise her children, myself and my brothers, in a different way, in a different neighborhood, in a different location, in a different state, through a different mindset, and she decided to take our life a completely different way because she knew, after being so ingrained in our family for so long, she knew that there were lots of ruts and holes and trauma, racial trauma, intergenerational trauma, discrimination in my family, jealousy. The list goes on, with my extended family. And so my mom went a different way. And so sometimes when your family is illogical, they don't seem to understand, or they do things that doesn't make sense, or they're misconstruing intentions, they're harassing you, they're difficult to live around. You feel like your mind is cramped, you can't really expand yourself. It's time to put up a boundary. Orlando says, I have been parental alienated. Oh, I'm going to use that for 3.5 years in New York City with my entire family. No one left. My goodness. So, you have experienced parental alienation is what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, that's so hard. I'm sorry, Orlando. Grow says, I missed being here. Oh, that's so good to know. You know why? Because that means that this feels like a safe space. That's so awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. Gigi Major, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. You're going to be my last comment before I jump back into the content. Gigi Major says, I say that it is a crock of poo-poo, family being everything. Oh, that's pretty good. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for curtailing the profanity, because some people would just go ahead and say it. Okay, so then he goes on to say, especially when you're the black sheep and been born an empath, it's hurtful to learn this late in life. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I have, we'll go back to the content on that one, and then I'll go back to the chat box in a little bit. I have clients who are living a life like that, where for all their years of youth, right, 20s, 30s, some of the 40s, now they're 50 something and they're realizing that they had a narcissistic mom, or they had a very judgmental dad, or, you know, they had a very toxic and envious sister. And it can be really hard when you've spent half of your life believing in people that really are not okay for you, and whose minds are not in their rightful place, right? So it can be very traumatizing indeed. Let's talk about what's going on here. What's going on when people say to you, family is everything, you have nothing if you don't have family, how dare you treat your family like that? What kind of person are you? I once had a client that brought her aunt to therapy, and the aunt sat on the couch next to my client and said, what kind of person are you to just walk away from your family like that? Are you on drugs? And my client's like, what? You know? And so I excuse that very narcissistic rude aunt to the waiting room so that I can then manage my client, because she was starting to cry. She was starting to kind of cave in. Her body language was kind of tensing up. And I knew this is going down the wrong drain. So, when I got a chance to just kind of help my client gain some stability, I explained to her that your aunt is working from a very polarized view of family, meaning that she only sees family in black and white terms. There's no gray. She is stuck to you're with your family or you're not. Family is everything, and there is no other way to look at that. And that's a polarized black and white view to look at things. It's not a healthy way to look at life at all, if you ask me. I think we always need to save some space in our mind for possibilities. And to me, that's how you grow. It's only when you close your mind off to something that you lose ultimately, because you're not able to grow and expand. And so her aunt was that kind of a person. She couldn't grow and expand because to her, family is everything. How dare you cut your family off? And I have also had family members in therapy who clearly has trauma in the family. The sister of the brother sexually violated the sister. What do you think mom and dad should do? Well, mom and dad should definitely get the brother some help if they still can. Should talk to the brother, tell them how hurt and disappointed they are. But no, they didn't do that. My client suffered being blamed, being told that she's lying, even though the forensic interview or the evidence showed that she was sexually violated as a child. They still refuse to look at it. Why? Because they live under the assumption that family is everything. So having that polarized black and white view with no flexibility, not a good way to go. Society does that, and that's what's going on with those kind of individuals. The other concept that psychology highlights is the view that the nuclear family is the only family. Nuclear family is when there's a mom, a dad, and biological kids. There's nothing different about that family dynamic. It's everybody is blood. And so this theory in psychology is if you are not in a nuclear family, some people will take that to mean that any other family is illegitimate. A blended family, an extended family, none of that matters. You have to be in a nuclear family. It has to be a family, a white picket fence, and everybody's going to go on and be happy. And again, that's a very polarized view of things. So family is a term that is defined by culture, society, and personal needs, you know, but sometimes people will just view it as you need to be a nuclear family, stay a part of your family, even if you've been wronged and hurt. That's where you need to stay. The other view in psychology is ascribed status. Now, ascribed status means that your family has assigned a status to you. You are the hero. You're the lost child. You're the black sheep. You're the scapegoat. Their ascribed status of you, right? Or their ascribed view of you, that's what I should be saying, can kind of keep you stuck. Because if you have some family members who have ascribed to you the role of a hero, if you need to walk away from that family dynamic, can you imagine how that's going to be? You're going to be termed rebellious. You're probably going to be ousted by the family. You're probably going to become the black sheep or the scapegoat if you already aren't, or if you aren't already, I should say. It's a bad position to be in. When a family titles you something or labels you something and you don't like that label, or you don't feel like you should have that label, you may walk away from the family, and the family may actually become offended that you've decided to go over there, because in a way you're kind of telling them, I don't want to be a part of you. I think I'm going to be better over here. And that can stir up a lot of chaos. So a lot of people just believe, stay with your family no matter what. Even if you have a difference in opinion, even if you don't believe the same way, even if your religious values are different, your morals, your ethics, still stay connected to your family. And I totally disagree with that. Totally disagree with that. And research in psychology also disagrees with that view. You have to have flexibility to live life the way that you have to live it. And it may not include a nuclear family. It may not include this ideology that family is everything. You may have to actually create your own family over time. I'm going to pull in my really good friends over there. I'm going to pull in my coworker who has been with me through thick and thin. I'm going to pull in, some friends that I met a year ago that live in my neighborhood. You may have to construct and create your own family while you're pushing your biological family over there. And that's not to say that your biological family is not important. What it is saying is, I'm going to get rid of the toxicity and I'm going to bring in some positivity so that I can survive. And that's really what you're saying. Unfortunately, the world doesn't see it that way. Psychology also highlights a term called functionism. And basically that term means that you can't function in society outside of a group of people or outside of your family. And that's an incorrect view. So psychology states that if you have an individual that believes that family is everything, you're not to leave your family no matter what, you're supposed to stay interconnected, that is an incorrect view of things, because individuals can function outside of their family. Individuals can function outside of groups. It's possible. Sometimes functioning within a group is unstable because that group has negative theories that are not true. That group can be very toxic to yourself and other people. So sometimes it's the group who's unstable and you need to get out of that. The other concept in psychology is the concept of family tends to be driven by fantasy. That family is everything comes from this fantasy that everybody is born connected, that blood is thicker than water, that, I'm always going to stand up for you because we are connected. I'm always going to, no matter what, even if you're wrong, I'm still going to be there for you. I don't like that concept either. Psychology says that this fantasy is like a vehicle. It's a bad perception, and it just drives how people see family. Sometimes you may have what's called achieved status, where maybe your family loaned you some money and that made you able to get a mortgage loan and buy a house. Achieve status. I've achieved a certain level of status. Maybe your great grandmother left you a large inheritance and you were able to go buy you a really nice car. You were able to buy your mom a home and you were able to go back to school. Achieve status. Now you are living at a certain status. Sometimes psychology states that sometimes they believe that if you have achieved status, you need to stay within the family. Don't be uppity or arrogant or don't have a view outside of your family, just stay right here stuck in the family. And psychology says that achieved status can cause family members to feel that you owe them, right? You've gotten this money because you were a part of the family. You are a part of the family because grandma brought you into the inheritance, and therefore you're not allowed to go anywhere else. We're supposed to be like this. That's not true. Psychology says that achieved status can really make you feel obligated, and it should not. We also have to consider, before I go to the chat box, we have to consider commercialism, right? Holiday time is right around the corner. I looked at my calendar today and I'm like, oh my God, it's October 18th. You mean to tell me Thanksgiving is in the next couple of weeks? So we're going to be dealing with situational depression, where people are going to start feeling depressed about family and connectedness. Christmas is coming. New Year's is coming, right? So there's a lot of commercialism. There's a lot of commercialism that is associated with that theory that family is everything, right? Commercials, posters in the community, holiday celebrations, right? Even if you go through a grocery store, sometimes you can even find a sign up on the wall, something hanging from the ceiling that shows a family together, laughing, skipping, holding hands, smiling, hugging themselves, hugging their family. All that commercialism kind of keeps you stuck, right? And this is why the concept of family is everything is believable, because of the way society and commercialism just drives that, right? The other thing is unfair comparisons and uninformed comparisons, right? Sometimes you look at another family. Let's say you're sitting at a red light and you're looking out the window and you see a mom, her daughter, and a male, and you think, oh, that's nice. Look, mom and dad and the child, they look like they're having a good time. But little do you know, that may not be mom or may not be dad. Maybe that's sister and brother, and maybe they don't get along at all. Maybe that brother that you're looking at has sexually or physically violated that little girl that you think is the daughter. So I guess what I'm saying here is that uninformed comparisons and unfair comparisons can make you feel a certain way that you shouldn't be feeling, because we don't have the details and we don't have the ability to know what's going on in other people's relationships and lives. All we see are 3 people that we think are connected as a family, and that may or may not be true. So sometimes we live in that mindset that family is all around us, and that's not the truth. Or happy family is all around us, and that's not the truth either. Okay, before we go to what is a healthy way psychology says that you can deal with this, and what's a healthy way that I've given my clients to use. So we're going to get to that in a little bit. I just want to go back to the chat box though before we get to that, and then we're going to wrap up. Courtney Frazier, hello and welcome. I'm glad to see you back tonight. I hope you're doing okay. Precious V, hello and welcome. Welcome, glad to see you. Thank you so much, Terry McKinney. I hope I said that correctly. Thank you and welcome. Always glad to see you in the chat box. Tenebis Abismos, you know to forgive me because I mess that up every live chat, don't I? But I'm glad to see you in the chat box. I'm going to read this. Fairy Girl makes a good point. Fairy Girl says, there is worse things I could do, such as behave the same way they felt or feel justified to behave. Yeah, chew on that for a little bit, guys. Chew on that for a little bit. Fairy Girl, the only reason I'm laughing is because it took me half a second to just zone in and understand what you're saying, and it makes sense. It makes sense. Angel Warrior, thank you for that. Says, thank you for giving us a space and voice. We appreciate you, Tam. Thank you so much. That's so kind. And I'm really glad. I'm so glad that this feels like a safe space for all of you. Momtude, hello and welcome. I love that screen name. Glad to have you. Cherry's Jubilee says they ain't fathom how bad it can be. Yeah, they don't fathom at all. Or they can't fathom. That's what she goes on to say. I agree. I agree. Thank you, Fairy Girl. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Fairy Girl says differentiation. Yep. Look at my girl. She's remembering all these terms. That's awesome. Yeah. Orlando says they have the hive mentality, like a beehive. Yeah. You know, I actually like watching how bees interact with each other. This is a wise analogy coming, so hang in there. I'm just kidding. But I love watching bees. You know why? They have a very interesting way that they communicate with each other, how they tell each other danger is around, how they construct their hives in such a beautiful and natural design. They are so very intelligent and so very connected to the group, you know? And it's wonderful when it works. But do you know what bees do? You ready for this? You're going to love this. Do you know what bees do when they realize that the queen bee is not performing like she should, because all the little bees function because of the queen bee? And if you can find the queen bee in a mob of bees, you control the whole pack, right? So I don't know if you guys knew that you control the entire beehive. If you find that queen bee, you take that queen bee out of the hive and you put her somewhere else, all the baby bees will go following. So they are very interconnected, almost like an enmeshed family. But here's what I love about bees. They are so interesting. I would never be a beekeeper, but I love watching people who are. And so here's what happens. Queen bee stops performing. Sometimes the energy of a queen bee can be so violent that the rest of the beehive is upset. They are edgy, they are defensive. And sometimes when beekeepers go into situations where they want to remove a beehive, they will look for the queen bee and they will watch the behavior of the bees to see what kind of environment. What kind of environment is this? You know, is this going to be an aggressive situation where I need to put my skin protection on so that I don't get stung? Or are these calm, peaceful bees? And so here's what happens when the queen bee doesn't do their job appropriately. The little bees, guess what they do? They grab the queen bee and they literally try to get rid of her. They actually attack her, and they try to attack her and sting her to death until she's no longer a part of the beehive. They get rid of, and they walk away from, and they escape from that thing that is making the entire beehive unproductive. You're going to have to sleep on that one. I leave you with that. Tell me what you think of that, because bees are very interesting. If we really align that bee analogy to how we are in families that are unproductive, or how we should be when our family is not productive, you know, if we align the way that bees function, it makes a lot of sense. The bees grab that queen bee and they actually get rid of her. They kill her because she is, you know, and I don't want that to be taken the wrong way, but I'm just telling you about the nature of bees. They get rid of her because she's not helping the hive. She's making the environment very unproductive. Also, briefly, before I go back to the chat box, bees also get rid of the male bees after the bees are no longer helpful to the hive. So they really do have this primitive, natural way that they see communication. And if something is a part of their bee family and it's not working, they say, you're out of here, or we're out of here. Sometimes bees are so chaotic because the queen bee is so disorganized, the bees go somewhere else. It's very cool. Shay Wallace says groupthink, absolutely. Where there's an in group and there's an out group, the in group goes against the out group, meaning maybe you're the black sheep of the family, and so therefore you've been pushed outside of the family. Thank you, Annie Walker. That's so sweet of you. Thank you so much, and welcome to tonight's live chat. Always glad to see you. MN Odell, hello and welcome. Always glad to see you as well. All right. Give it a think. Glad to see you. I was wondering if you were going to be on here tonight. Glad to see you. Yeah. Collectivism. Welcome to the live chat, by the way. Give it a think says collectivism is just another tool for getting others to comply with the narcissist's narrative. Sometimes it is. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you so much. That's so cute. I have to get my mom to give it to me. She probably has it somewhere in her photo album. Yeah. I don't have it. I don't have it in my office and down here in the office, but I will. You guys will find it very funny. I look so discombobulated. Okay. Yeah, absolutely, Orlando. Sometimes if you do have that personality, it can be really hard for you to fit into even your own family. We can talk about personality theory too at some point. Roselle, I hope I said that correctly. Welcome to tonight's live chat. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome. Roselle says, what about families that ostracize you? You feel isolated. Suicide is often a result of constant rejection. Say like they belong to a religious cult that shun you. Yeah, a religious cult. We talked about the psychology of religious trauma not too long ago. You might want to check out that live chat. Really, I think that's a very complicated dynamic, and you really have to be wise when you are stuck in that, and you need to walk away. So you do really want to be wise in these kind of dynamics. But if you are in a religious cult, that makes escaping from the family even more difficult, because that family is everything mentality is sometimes written right into the religious theory of things. And that can be really frightening, right? It's kind of like the King James Bible or the New International Version of the Bible. The Holy Bible teaches that you are not to divorce, that you have to have a specific grounds to divorce. But do you know how many people stay bound to people they should not be with because of how that message is misconstrued or used to make people feel trapped? And so when you are in a religious cult or a religious ideology, you're going to really have to take some baby steps to get out. And if you can somehow, and we're going to get back to the content in just a little bit, if you can somehow separate God from the people who are traumatizing you, or separate who God is or the ideology of God from those hypocrites in that religious cult, you may be able to escape untouched, but usually a religious cult, a dominating religion, imprisoning religion will tell you that if you walk away from your family, God's going to curse you. If you walk away from that marriage, God is going to be upset with you. And I don't see that. It's only until either God reveals something to you in your life's journey, or a loving, compassionate person takes you back to a clear understanding that you are not to be abused, that you have the right to leave the situation if it's unhealthy. Nancy, I'm looking at your message. I'm gonna put your message up here because this is cute. And then I'm going to continue to go along. I want to make sure that I get most of you before we go back to the content. Nancy R says, I always knew I was going to have to be independent since I was young. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes kids are independent as young as five. In my webinar today with my coworkers, my colleagues, I mentioned that family trauma goes all the way back to 5 years old for most people. And unfortunately, 5-year-olds, you can even see them outside walking around in the summer alone. Sometimes you can even find children who are neglected and abused walking around in snow. I had that in my neighborhood years ago when I lived in a different community, where there was a 5-year-old, a little sweet baby, just walking around in the winter. And I was driving by and I saw him and I'm looking like, okay, where's the parents? And thank God there was a neighbor, looked like she's like walking up on him slowly, but she's trying to understand where he's going. But sometimes the trauma is as young as 5 and you realize I'm on my own. Ackman2298, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat as always. Beatrice, nice to see you. Welcome back. Okay, I'm so behind in comments, guys. Sizzle74, I love that name so much. Hello and welcome. Welcome, glad to see you. Hello and welcome. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome to tonight's live chat. Says, my son and I have been betrayed. My son ended his life. Oh my God, yes. Ugh. And I'm guessing I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm guessing it's part of the betrayal, right? The betrayal is what led to that. That's awful. Alicia, hello and welcome. Glad to have you in tonight's live chat. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome. Alicia says, my mom was the first to abuse me as a child, physically, verbally, mentally, and also betrayed me. Her and the biological father of my children were having an affair while I was working. Wow. I've had cases like this. I've had a case where the wife was delusional and thought that mom was having an affair with her husband. And then I've also had cases, which is most likely yours, where the mom really was having an affair with her husband. To me, that is the ultimate evil. And I'm so sorry that you had to deal with that. I could never forgive my mom if she did anything of the kind to me in any way. Georgette Gray, I haven't seen you in a while. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you back. Tonight's live chat. Yeah, Free Live says I'm a child to immature parents. Yep. I'm sorry to hear that because it's a very, very hard place to be in. Anne of Hearts, hello and welcome. Glad to see you back tonight. Okay, I think I've caught up a little bit. Just Kendra, I'm going to welcome you. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you tonight. Says people need to add value at some point. If they are a minus, it doesn't matter if they are family. I very much agree. If you're not adding value to my life, if you're not contributing, don't talk to me. And the older I've gotten, the more I have that disposition with anybody, but I have that disposition with people who know me well. If you're not going this way with me, don't talk to me. If you are going to create a big problem in my life for my psyche, my heart, my soul, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me because now you're wasting the time that I can't get back. Okay. My mom loves when I say that. She just cracks up. But it's true. You're wasting the time that I can't get back. I don't want to deal with this. So how should we see this, guys? How should we see walking away from a family? How should we see this concept, right? Because no matter what other people believe, we have to be okay. And I'm saying we just to be inclusive. We have to be okay with accepting the reality of our family dynamic. So there's one thing that psychology says, and I often encourage my clients to think of, which is that society has fallen victim to a generalized view of family. Society has fallen victim to a generalized view of family. Family is everything. That's a generalized view. You know, your family would never abuse you. That's a generalized view. It's generalized. There's no alternative perception of reality. It's what it is. You know, that family over there is loving, and I can guarantee you there's another family just like it that's loving. I had a client that used to say that, and I would always challenge her and say, how can you guarantee that? You don't know all the families in the world. And then she would say, oh yeah, that does make sense, you know? So society has fallen victim to a generalized view of family. If you know that you are going into the holiday season this year feeling depressed and alone and just unloved, keep in mind that society has a generalized view of family, and in order for for commercialism to have some power, in order to make money and allow the industry to continue on like it has for many years, they have to highlight family. That's just what they do. But it may not be a true way to view family, Excuse me, guys. So, so I think that's important to keep in mind. The second way that you most likely need to view this phenomenon is that family. I'm trying to find the best way to put this to you. I'll pose it as a question. You want to ask yourself, am I connected to my family out of obligation? Or am I connected to my family out of fear of walking away? And if you find that you are still interconnected with your family because you're afraid and you know they're unhealthy, then you can work with that. If you feel obligated to your abusive, not very loving family, then that's a bigger issue, right? But when you are trying to understand how to lead your life without your family, you really do want to look at the reality that there are some people who are staying with their families out of obligation, and they're staying with their families out of fear. And I refuse to be another example of that. So I encourage you to look at it that way as well. Some people are staying with their families out of obligation and fear. And I don't want to be that kind of a person, you know? You can also look at this phenomenon as, if my family is not going to be there to support me, then why am I continuing to be ashamed to share with other people that I've gone no contact? Because the way that I've gone may actually be the way that that other person needs to go. They're just too afraid to do it, or they don't know where to start. So kind of see yourself as a leader in a sense. You're making it very, you're making it normal. I'll put it that way, quote unquote, normal for families to reassess where they belong with each other and to reassess the connection. You are the example that you can walk away and be okay and maybe be a lot healthier, so you're kind of a model for other people. And so that's another way. The other way to kind of look at this phenomenon and this dynamic is that you have the opportunity to create a new life outside of the one you've been given. So you've been in a life and in a role that may be very demeaning and very hurtful and painful and just very deceptive, right? But you can kind of change that course in your life if you find the healthier way to go. And so, if you can kind of grasp that concept and just kind of, tuck it away in your heart, I think that's going to help you feel better as well, and kind of keep you on that firm route that you have made the healthy decision. If you can kind of keep that in your heart or in the back of your mind, that I've created and carved out a new way for myself. I think that is a very positive and balanced way to look at this. I don't want to live with people that don't know how to respect me, love me, care for me, give me, respect, compassion, the list goes on. So I'm going to at least try to carve out a new road for myself, and I will not be a part of this toxicity anymore. And so you're kind of taking charge of your life. That's another way that you should look at this. I'm taking charge of my life and I'm redirecting things, I still have a client that comes to me, and every now and then she'll check in and she'll say, Tamara, did I make the right decision? And I'll tell her, I can't tell you whether you've made the right decision or not. But what I can tell you is that I see a better you. I see that you are less drained. I see that you are more engaged in treatment. You smile more. And you seem to be doing a lot better with your own family, your friends, your husband and his family. And she sat there for a minute and she said, You're right. You're right. That's true. I feel that way. And so there was her answer to, did I make the right decision? And excuse me. And then one last thing that I want to put on the radar for you. Sorry, guys. I've literally been talking all day, so I apologize. But there's one last thing before I go to the chat box and we wrap up that I want to highlight for you, is that we are ultimately alone as human beings, right? We can have family connections, we can have friend connections, we can have co-worker connections, we could go on YouTube, we can go on Discord, we could go on TikTok and Instagram, and we can busy ourselves with things, but at the end of the day, who is that person that is with you all the time and can't escape? And that's you. You are by yourself all the time. We are alone ultimately, no matter what we do in life. We may have support systems that we can pull in, but ultimately we are experiencing life alone within ourselves. And you want to ask yourself, do I want to experience my life being impeded upon by unhealthy, detrimental people? Or do I want to move forward in this life and live my life alone in some ways so that I can have peace of mind? And the answer most likely is yes for the majority of you on here tonight. But we are existentially, we are always alone. And we have to be able to sit with ourselves and process within our heart and mind, do I really want to be here? Is this the life that I want? And if the answer is no, then you know that walking away is probably the best thing to do, at least for now. And you can kind of have peace knowing that the family is everything concept is very limited. This is a complicated topic, right, guys? So we probably will talk about this more often. I'm going to go to the chat box and wrap up tonight. Sam Hain, I hope I said that correctly. Hello and welcome. I don't remember seeing you, so welcome. Says, I have been betrayed over and over again. I don't speak to my sisters anymore because they have hurt me too much, and I know they will do it again, so I choose to stay away. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes that may be fear and anxiety, and you may have to kind of open your heart a little bit once you get stronger on the inside, and you may have to open your arms and say, you know what, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back. I'm not going to stay over here out of fear. I'm going to give them another chance. And sometimes if you give them another chance, you may find that it's really not that bad after all, excuse me, or maybe it's not what you thought, or maybe people have grown and changed. So you want to keep that hope in there too. Fairy Girl says, family is everything to Hallmark's budget. Fairy Girl, I'm going to pin that comment. I am going to pin that comment. I agree. Just Kendra says, Fairy Girl, that was good. Just Kendra says, I bet they don't think logically, but they could win an Olympic medal in arguing stupidly. Yeah, sometimes they could. Yeah. Q Quit Award 1. Hello and welcome. Glad to see you back tonight. I'm just going through to make sure I haven't missed any of you, which I probably have. I'm going to try my best to get to most of you. Jeremy Robinson, hello and welcome back. Glad to see you. Says, I feel the same way with the phrase, honor thy mother and thy father. Like, why would I honor you if you've caused me nothing but pain and misery? No, not doing it. Exactly. I understand that. Absolutely. And that's where context is a powerful weapon, right? Within proper context, having a wonderful, loving parent, yes, you should honor thy mother and thy father, right? If you're using that scripture. Yes, if you have a wonderful father, absolutely. And sometimes if you just want to be morally ethical, that's probably not a correct way to use it, but we're going to use it tonight. If you want to be that way, you could still honor. Doesn't mean I want to be close to you, though. I can still forgive you, but I'm going to forgive you and you're going to stay way over there, But I agree with that. That scripture can be challenging if it's taken out of context. Okay, we're going to wrap up here in just a little bit. Tammy nicely says, my narc mother said I wouldn't succeed in life without her. I believed her for a time, but soon realized she was wrong. Yes, absolutely. Sometimes it happens like that. Yes. Yeah, Nancy, thank you so much for that. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Sorry, guys, I'm going through. I'm just making sure that I'm seeing what I'm seeing correctly. JKD Merit Master Group says the worst to me is double standards. Yeah. Oh, yeah. 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 I very much agree. Oh, and JKD Merit Master Group, hello. Welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. I'm sorry, it's been a very long 2 days for me. So, like, my brain is on sleep mode. That's where we're going to wrap up here in a little bit. Orlando says, I spent 48 years of 51 years believing in family. Yeah. Yeah. My grandmother used to say, better late than never. Better late than never. Fairy girl, I'm going to add that. You're on fire tonight. Oh, grow. Oh my. I'm sorry, grow. Oh, that's so sad. Grow, hang in there, okay? You have sent me you've commented and you've made the comment that, it's just been rough for you. So please hang in there. I know it's hard. And I see it as an honor that you would sign in and be a part of the conversation. It shows that you need that connection, right? So I'm really glad that you decided to tune in. Yeah. Shay Wallace says, gotta love that judgment for having to walk away from toxic family. I'm just to the point now where I tell folk to get stuffed. You can't judge someone for these things. Yeah. Agree. Okay, I am just scanning through Ronald Zion. I don't want to overlook you. Ronald Zion says, why do some religious people try to make you feel guilty from distancing yourself from toxic family? There's probably many definitions or many examples that I could give. I'm sorry, Ronald, I meant examples that I could give. I think the number one reason is it's very much religious narcissism. It's very much self-righteousness. You don't separate from your family. Well, guess what? There are also scriptures in the Bible where family members had to separate. Abraham had to separate from Lot. They were family members. They both were up on a hill, and Lot, the Lord spoke to Abraham and told Abraham, you're going to have to separate from Lot so that you can go this way and be blessed, because Lot is going that way. Right? So Abraham and Lot had to separate. Rebecca and Leah had to separate. They were siblings, even mentors and people that had the same moral values, had to separate. So it's kind of contradictory when religious people say, what are you doing? They ask you the question, sometimes, what are you doing? That's your family. Okay. Yeah. But, Abraham and Lot had to separate. Rachel and Leah had to separate. Rebecca had to separate from family. And I can probably go down Cain and Abel. They weren't siblings that got along. That didn't mean that the family line was cursed because they couldn't get along. So, I mean, we can just pick and pull apart scripture all day long for religious people. But, overly religious people, they are the first people to judge and the first people to not truly know the Bible. That's the way I look at that. Yeah. No offense to anyone, because I personally, I read my Bible all the time. I stay very close to my spiritual and, religious boundaries and convictions, but I do not like religious people who walk around and just, they're narcissistic and they're arrogant and they're self-righteous and they point fingers at you. We don't need that. We need a true person who understands the dynamics in scripture, can love people, provide people with those healthy boundaries and just love people, right? I do not like when religious people say, why are you separating from your family? Or don't get that divorce. It keeps you stuck. Kev Dower says, I almost didn't make it. Good evening. Hello. I hope you're okay. You did make it. We're going to sign off here in just a little bit. Glad to see you always. Half the battle knowledge is. Wow. Welcome to tonight's live chat. We're going to wrap up here. Obviously, this hit home for you. L. Co., you're welcome. Welcome to tonight's live chat. I'm glad to see you. Guys, for those of you, I did not. Thank you, Sean Hazel. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sorry. I'm responding to somebody else. Sean Hazel, thank you. I'm responding to somebody else who's saying thank you. Okay. For those of you that I did not get a chance to get to, forgive me. I see you. I'm going to check the chat box. Please post comments in the comment section. I'm going to be responding to those if I didn't get to you and you had a question or anything like that. But thank you so much for being with me. I'm exhausted. I'm not going to be doing a live chat tomorrow. I really need to rebound, come back. So I will see you guys next Friday and next Saturday. I really hope this was helpful. Like I said, go ahead and post some things in the comment section if you would like me to answer questions or if you have some thoughts for me. I will see you guys in the next week. Hope you have a good rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.